Hey everyone. So you need to do less to do more. I think that's what all of us need to hear at some point. I've obviously been at fault for this. I tend to do way more than necessary at all times. It seems like a habit of mine to, like more busy work somehow makes me more productive. It doesn't. It makes me less productive, obviously. But if you kind of look at the things you do in a day, you'll get an idea of how much you suffer from this. And I think it's critical that you understand that it's not important for you to do probably at least half of the things you are constantly doing. Especially if you're like an over-analysis type like I am. The issue with constantly wanting to do things is that there's this saying, jack of all trades, master of none, which I think somewhat applies, somewhat doesn't. It just essentially implies that if you are constantly doing all these different things, you'll never really have the time and the deep work to get really good at any of them, because that requires dedication to one specific thing at a time. And if you're constantly flitting around on all these different objectives, like they're not really objectives, they're just kind of time blocks that don't develop into any real skill. You're not leveling up, or you're definitely not leveling up as efficiently as you can. Like, it's not true in all cases, but I think for most parts, it's pretty accurate. And, I really believe in like the rule of threes. Like, there's a very ingrained psychological principle for humans that we like things in groups of three for some reason. I don't know why. I'm assuming there's an evolutionary facet to that, but you see a window. Most windows are set up to be in threes. If you go around and look at houses, a lot of them are set up to have sets of three windows. If there are multiple windows on a floor, for example, or like a front-facing house, it'll usually have either one window or three windows, or it'll have two windows with the door in the middle, which also has a window. So technically there are three, right? And it's all to satisfy this weird itch in your head. But I think it's because anything above three, like they've also delved into this with consumer behavior, where if you have too many options at the convenience store and like you look like, let's say it's fucking peanut butter, right? You're looking at peanut butter. If there's more than three options, there's this thing called consumer overwhelm or choice overwhelm, where the person isn't able to decide what they want and they just end up not getting it at all, which is nuts because you went there for peanut butter. But if you have too many choices or too many things to do, you won't do any of them. Like you'll invoke that principle where it's just like not happening, right? You don't complete what you came there to do. And you need to, I think, in your life, have a max of three like really big objectives that you're working on at all times, maximum. You can have less for sure, and I recommend it. But, for most people, one of them is their job, right? Or whatever you do to make money. That's kind of like one of the critical ones. And your brain can only like truly focus on that many things at a time, and anything more than that, it will suffer and break down, and like all your efficient systems in your brain and things that are streamlined to help you concentrate and focus on things will just collapse. So you need to stop being like a massive energy drain on yourself and find those three things that are most important and just ruthlessly eliminate all the other ones. And I know this doesn't sound fun, but you know what's fun? Accomplishing great things in your life. That's fun, right? Doing the things you want to do, you've always wanted to do, that's fun. That is fun, accomplishing those and going through the motions to get to them. And is it going to be hard? Yeah, but it's necessary for you to feel good about yourself, because no incompetent person feels good about themselves. Just think about that. Like, if you are not capable of doing anything, why on earth, like, unless you're delusional or insanely prideful, why would you possibly think that you are capable of doing anything if you're not? Like, you have no evidence, right? To the contrary. So And you need to make this process habitual of like eliminating all the things that, you know, are breaking into your psyche and trying to pull you away from those three things. So like big things include like, and they're like, it's usually new things or novel things. So like, for example, if you've been at a job for a long period of time, it's probably not consuming a lot of your mental energy, right? Because you know what the fuck's going on, unless there's like crazy change or there's like a hostile takeover happening or something. Like it's pretty monotonous. You just do kind of the same types of things day in, day out. You know, you might have like a variation of what you're doing, but it's rare that there are drastic changes to how the workplace operates and how your job is, unless you actually change jobs, get a promotion, etc. But I would consider that a new job. So that would be like, I guess, one of the three. Like you're in a new job and it's like within the first year, that might be still take a very high level of neural energy to complete those tasks, right? And you don't know what you don't know. So therefore your brain is always searching for those things, right? But once you do know what you do know, and you do know what you don't know, it becomes much less of like this fear-mongering consciousness that's just saying like, oh, you don't know everything. Like you need to keep paying attention, keep like that just goes away eventually. Like, you know, it's like the master syndrome. Like you just kind of know everything and it just comes naturally to you because it's been like written into the grooves of your brain for so long and so often that you just immediately come up with the answer, right? And there's actually a piece of the brain, like right on the brain stem, called the basal ganglia. And it is essentially the fastest operating part of your brain. It's like the CPU almost. When you have to react in like a split second period of time or like think very fast, it has all these default programs written in it that allow you to execute things within like a fraction of a millisecond. Like, you know, like jumping out of the way of a car, blah, blah, blah. Like it's able to remember like your foot positioning, which muscles to move, which way to shift your body weight, how to do it, regardless, like which way to look with your eyes, which way to throw your arms to like maximize your velocity, like leaving, you know, all those things are written there. But like it also includes like things you do every day are monotonous because it overwrites the stuff that's necessary with stuff that it believes is even more necessary or more relevant and consistent over time. And when you do things for a significant amount of time, they tend to be written there, right? So what I'm saying is these three big things that you need to be focusing on, cutting down all the bullshit you're doing to, is things that won't be in like stored in there, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like a new job, yes, it wouldn't be stored in there. But after a while, it gets to a year and stuff. You start writing here. Eventually, it's just, you know, you've seen like people who have been working at the same job for 10 years. It's like so easy for them. It's like seamless. If it's not easy for them, then they're a fucking idiot, right? But any intelligent person who's been working at the same place for a while likely knows the ins and outs of it and isn't really riding this anxiety train of not knowing specific things and worrying about messing up. Like they don't care. They know they're not going to because they, you know, have in the past and they've corrected and they've gone through all the trials and tribulations. They're there, right? They've arrived at the point where they don't like really require any additional aid, let's say, or, you know, specific attunement to what they're doing. It's just natural, right? Because it's been written in the back. But you need to kind of focus on those three things. So that would be like, you know, a new job would count. I think once it gets to about a year or so, most people would probably be adapted enough that it wouldn't be crazy. Obviously, if you get promoted after a year, then you're back in the gauntlet and you have to learn everything again. But like once you get to a year in a specific position, in a specific company, things haven't changed. You know, you're not getting hostile takeover, like isn't happening. You're not getting displaced by AI or made to be augmented by AI, which, yeah, a lot of people are going to be, you know, hit by in the next, like it's happened to my job. I have to use AI and learn AI on a daily basis. So that's new, but like I'm younger, I'm more able to adapt, right? Like the old heads I'm watching them actively have a hard time adapting, right? because it's not what's written there. So it's all new to them, right? So it does take extra stress. So you have to realize that you have to designate time and energy to that. And, if you have been at a job for a while and you have these 3 things going on, and then your job shakes up, you're going to have to drop one of those other 3 things to make room for the mental energy required to adapt to your job, because it's kind of essential. But, like another possible one of the big 3 would be like a side project. And people like to be doing like 1,000 side projects at once. Like I suffer from this. I'm doing this YouTube. I'm trying, right now I'm trying to start like a old school RuneScape YouTube. I've done music in the past for a long time. I made beats. I rapped. I made songs. I produced. I have all that on another YouTube. And I'm also working on Hosel Rocket, as you guys know, the golf companion app with AI analysis and integration. So I'm guilty of going above the 3, and it's been wearing on me. Honestly, it's too much. Like, obviously, being creative and being able to do creative things like video editing and producing videos and making videos, like, writing scripts or like bullet points to the point where I can converse with you guys. Like, that's important to me, and it adds value to my life. I get better at public speaking. I get better at understanding how to communicate things more clearly to people. And that helps in other areas of life, but like, it's just too much, right? So really, like, thinking about it now, like, honestly, I'll probably cut down to Hosel Rocket, which, has a lot of potential going forward. I still have OCR capabilities with AI and a bunch of stuff that the other competitors just don't, right? And I'm a solo dev. Like, if I can do it, they could implement it eventually. So I need to stay on top of it and make sure I get first adopter, like first mover advantage, and get a significant amount of users to, participate. So I get more data, things get more accurate. I can build on new features. People can request new features that I can build. And I can kind of cut out a place for myself in the market to distinguish myself. And then another one is obviously this YouTube. Like, it takes time. I have to edit my shorts. I have about 7 shorts per week per video. And sometimes there's more, so I have overlap. So sometimes I usually have 2 shorts a day. I don't think the YouTube algorithm really likes it. I think I've been spamming it a bit too much, but regardless, I want to still keep making 2 per day, because we are getting some traction and getting a lot more subscribers. And I just like to talk to you guys. I like to help out and, give my 2 cents, whether it matters or not. It's totally up to you. But if you find it beneficial, then that's awesome. That's all I really want from this channel, is to help people. And, you need to, and it also includes like big life events. Like, if you're planning a wedding or like a birthday or something crazy, or your like parents, 60th vacation trip, like, all of those things are taking up mental energy for you. And the moment you go above 3, your brain basically just shits itself. It can't fucking compute. It doesn't know what to do. It's not able to really grasp everything. You're not able to think about things properly, and you miss steps. Like, you lose out on stuff. Like, if you're planning a wedding and you're also doing all these other 5 things, like your job, like things are changing in your job. So that's 1, you're doing your wedding. And then you're also trying to, play like 6 hours of video games a fucking day or something. And you're also, who knows, like working on a side project. Something's going to slip through. Like, you're going to forget the flowers for the tables at the wedding, or you're going to forget to message back the caterer, or you're going to not make as much progress on your video game. And then you're going to be upset about that because you wanted to beat a certain boss by a certain abstract timeline that you set for yourself, and that didn't happen. Or you're not going to be able to respond to customers on your side project who are paying customers, and they are actually helping facilitate that side project stay alive, right? Who are kind of like the lifeblood of it, and you're ignoring them and not appreciating their, donations of time and energy and usage into what you built to further facilitate your efforts, right? Like it's you kind of take things for granted, probably unintentionally. And you want to stay sane and do a limited amount of new things. Like I was saying, try and do the big three. Think about what those are in your life right now. If you don't have full three, I would highly suggest getting a second and a third if you don't have them. But most people, I think, watching this would probably have more than that. So it's an issue of cutting down and removing excess, not a lack thereof, And if you are over those three things, you can still take the other ones and put them on a back burner. And when one of those three things stops, like for example, it's a wedding, you get married, it's over. Honeymoon, you do your honeymoon, you're over. When one of them kind of removes itself from the table, you can add a new third thing, right? Like it's not like you just can't do new things and you're limited and blah, blah, blah. But like you can't be learning how to play guitar and also trying to read 1,000 books in a year and also building a side project and also doing YouTube videos. And also like there is only so many things you can do in a day and there's only so many things you can do in a week. And if you continue to push yourself, you will fucking burn out. You'll be so unproductive. You will hit a rut. And in that 2 or 3 weeks where you are doing nothing and you've kind of given up on it, someone who was more consistent, I'm not saying it's a competition. I'm saying, like, let's say it's another version of you in a different dimension. The version of you that had them under control doesn't have that burnout. And even though they're, less efficient and not doing 1,000 things at once, they are able to accomplish more than you because they don't ever hit burnout, right? If you're going, it's like the tortoise and the hare, right? The hare takes a nap in the middle of the fucking thing. That's burnout, right? And then the tortoise wins, even though he's going slow as fuck, because he's consistent over time. He doesn't quit. And there is no burnout for him. He just goes his speed. He knows to stay in his fucking lane and go his speed. And that's why it's such like a pervasive parable, is because it tells you something very important, which is don't get cocky and prideful, for one. And two is persistence and hard work and consistency always beat talent and ego and lack of work ethic and cockiness and just, braggadocio. Like it's completely overwhelmed by someone who shows up every day. Even if you're at 50% capacity, that 50% compounded over time is way more than someone going 90%, 90%, 90%, 90%, crashing for like a week and a half, coming back with the same energy. Like it's just, you're never going to match up. Even if you think you do, like your brain skews things for you, and like it makes you think weird things, but it's not true. So, and the human brain is not capable of handling that many things at once. So if you want to be someone who accomplishes a lot of great things, you have to start with a few of them. And you have to work on those few. When you have mental energy and room to take on another one, but you don't overwhelm yourself, because burnout is like the fucking devil. It destroys all of your momentum, makes you double think things, like induces a bunch of anxiety, makes you feel less than, deflates the self-worth, and makes you just feel like helpless and incompetent. And you're not any of those things. You're just overwhelmed. So stop overwhelming yourself. You're doing it to yourself. If there's too many things happening in your life, then you gotta be the bad guy to yourself and put your foot down and not let yourself do new things, because it is too much on your nervous system. You need to sleep, you need to eat, you need to do your 3 things. Okay? That's all you need to do. And life, I think, rewards people who take things slowly. If you try to do things too fast, you try to hack your way, shortcut your way, cheat your way through the system, it's not going to work out for you. And eventually you will hit a major roadblock in your life, which probably will cause you to kind of rethink everything, right? That's what happened to me. I was one of those people. So I'm speaking from experience, but you need to, buckle down, do those 3 things. Ride the tiger. Ride the tiger. Do the thing you don't want to do, which in this case is just limit yourself a little, right? What's the worst limiting yourself can do? You have extra energy in the tank for the things that you're doing. So you do them better. You pay more attention. You make less mistakes. You have more time to think about things, ponder things, actually come up with an innovative, capturing solution to problems that you've had that are all encompassing and help you completely overcome challenges instead of just throwing shit at the wall and hoping something works because you're just doing high volume. And, that's not, my YouTube channel right now is doing well and has reached the point it has because every week I record one of these videos. I make sure it's good. I write scripts. I try to improve every time, but I don't overdo it. I don't go to 4 videos per week. I could, for SEO or, exposure or whatever. I hope my shorts are doing that. 2 a day is way too much, fucking much as it is. So I might dial that back, to be honest. I think I'm just doing too much, but people appreciate well thought out things and curated content that's well delivered and high quality because there's too much quantity. There's just too much. I appreciate Gary Vaynerchuk and all these people saying that you need to do the volume approach and no one will ever see you unless you do volume. I don't believe that at all. I think that this world has too much volume. There's too many fucking people, right? Everybody knows this. The world's overpopulated. There's too many people and there's too many opinions and there's everyone fucking saying everything. You can find everyone arguing for every viewpoint ever. So the thing that's important is how you help people and your value that you add, because at the end of the day, you're going to die and your worth is what you were able to contribute to others and, society, the planet, the universe. If you have nothing in either of those categories, why were you even here? Right? So focus on your 3 things, stay diligent, work on limiting yourself and what you're doing, focus on the crafts. Think about an artisan, a painter. They would paint nonstop, day in, day out. They take breaks and stuff, but they don't be oh, whatever. I don't want to be a painter anymore. I'm going to go try cooking. Or I don't want to be a chef anymore. I'm going to try being a baseball star. If you just keep flip-flopping through everything, you're going to be a flip-flopper. You're not going to be a baseball star or a master chef or a Da Vinci. Even Da Vinci, he specifically allotted time for specific subjects and studied them for years at a time and then progressed to the next one. He wasn't doing 80 fucking things per day. Everyone thinks he was, but that's not how it worked. You have to delve into a subject to the deepest depths to understand its character and then infuse it with your own. And that is how you get good at something. So I hope this helped. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Hope you have a fantastic week. Hope all your enemies suffer and burn in lava. And I hope that everything gets better for you. And, people stop doubting you and you believe in yourself and everything just works out. Because if you stay consistent, focus on kind of those 2 things, just add to it as you're able to handle it. you'll have a good life. So have a good one. Appreciate you guys.